Welcome back to the Fenway Focus. This is episode 14 of the Fenway Focus. My name is Jason, and I'm here with Derek, as always, for another midweek show. This time, we're recapping the two-game set against the Atlanta Braves that the Red Sox played on Tuesday and Wednesday. We're recording this on Thursday, May 9th at around 10 p.m. Derek, I guess, how are you doing? And, what are you feeling after this series?
I mean,
We'll get to
it's
that in
not
depth later, but
it's not great that they lost two in a row to the Braves. It's not ideal, getting swept, but it's the Braves, right? At some point, like a little hopeful, the Dodgers just crushed them, but that's the Dodgers. The Dodgers team is kind of built to do that to a lot of teams, so I guess it was coming at some point for the Dodgers to have a massive series win like that. For the Braves, though, they're still the Braves, obviously. Yeah, they're without Spencer Strider and whatnot, but overall, the Red Sox just weren't that competitive this series. Let's be honest. Too many missed opportunities, just not ideal. And then kind of the big I don't want to say middle finger coming back at you, but kinda with Chris Sale going out and pitching very well against you. Um, at the same time, you can make the argument of there's arguments to be made about that sale discussion, which we'll get into the sale discussion probably at some point. But obviously, yeah, it wasn't the greatest sign seeing Sale go against you and pitch amazingly, and Vaughn Grissom not having the greatest of nights either.
from a trade perspective, it's not great, but yeah, well, I think we'll get into it a little bit later. But so, like I said before, Red Sox lost both games to the Atlanta Braves. As I like to call it, a dusting is when you team drops two out of the two games from a two-game set. First game they lost 4-2 in a game that they were tied going into the eighth inning in. Then they lost the second game at 5-0 with runs scored in the first, 4 runs scored in the first inning. It wasn't good. It was just, I think the Red Sox, if they were going to win a game, was obviously the second or the first game, because simply they had so many opportunities with runners in scoring position. Uh, I'm trying to look at their number, but they were atrocious. They were 1 for 14 with runners in scoring position. Left 13 men on base. Not great. Couldn't capitalize. They had a leadoff double. They had a one-out triple at some point. They had bases loaded, one out. They couldn't score. So, Derek, I'll put it to you. Any thoughts on the first game? Your opinions on anything? Do you agree with what I've been saying, or what are your thoughts?
Well, I think there's just too many missed opportunities for that game. 1 for 14 with runners in scoring position is not ideal at all. That can't go. You're not going to win games when you do that, and you're not going to beat good teams when that happens. They left 13 runners on base. The pitching, for the most part, was well. Obviously, Slayton struggled a little bit. It was his first kind of bad outing, but even then, it wasn't that bad. Jaron Duran had a nice little game, 2 hits, a double and a triple. That was nice to see. Wilyer Abreu, although he didn't have a hit, got on base twice with a pair of walks. So overall, not a terrible game, but it could have been. It was definitely a winnable game, and
Yes,
I think because it was very winnable, because the pitching in total only gave up 4 runs, and you had so many opportunities to score runs. I think it kind of leaves a little bit of a bitter taste in the mouth of they definitely should have won that game in some sense, somehow, some way. If the Red Sox were a really good team, they would have won that game.
exactly. It's the missed opportunities and the winnable games that are a big pet peeve of mine. I know it's a very common pet peeve, but Cutter Crawford, another quality start. 6 innings pitched, 5 runs, 5 hits, 2 runs, and 6 strikeouts. Bernardino came in, Weiser came in, then Slayton, like you said, it was one of his worst outings of the season. And it wasn't even that bad. It was 2 runs on 2 hits and 1 walk. but still he has an ERA of 180 on the season. First kind of like huge, like high leverage. It's also, you put him in with a tie game in the bottom of the eighth against the Atlanta Braves, against the top of the order. He wasn't set up to do well, but at the same time, he's a major league pitcher and he should be probably getting outs. But at the same time, it's the Atlanta Braves. I'm not saying it's an excuse, but you're putting one of the best offenses against him as a Rule 5 pick. But again, that's not an excuse. I think he learns. I think he takes this, puts this in the rearview mirror, learns from it, and is better the next time he pitches. That's all I have for the first game. Then the second game, the Chris Sale game. Sale was just dominant. Uh, Quality start, 6 innings pitched, 6 hits, no runs, 1 walk, and 10 strikeouts. Big 10. His ERA below 3 this year. While Pivetta, on the other hand, was not great in his return off the IL. 4 innings pitched, 7 hits, 5 earned runs, 1 walk, and just 1 strikeout. But he gave up 3 home runs, which is a lot. And remember, he was pitching really great up until he went on the injured list. So I'll move it over to you, Derek. Any thoughts on this game as a whole? I gave my thoughts. Anything you want to add on, or do you have a different perspective of this game? What do you think?
Well, I'll say the bullpen looked solid after
Oh, yeah.
Pivetta. I think that's always nice to see. As much as the Pivetta start wasn't that great and whatnot, and it's nice to at least see the bullpen going in guys like Josh Witkowski having a nice appearance out of the bullpen, Cam Boozer, Chris Martin pitched a nice clean inning, which was nice to see, and then Chase Anderson as well in that bottom of the 8th inning, and kind of a little bit of a mop-up role, but still, that's important, right? You don't want to have what the Red Sox have had the last couple of years where that guy gives up a couple runs and whatnot, then you got to use more pitchers. Um, the other thing I'll add, interesting game. Connor Wong had a nice little game, 2 for 4, including a double. Connor Wong hitting second in the lineup. I think that's very interesting. I don't know if it's just because they were facing a lefty with Sale or what, but Wong's been hitting consistently 5th and 6th in the lineup. Moving up to seconds, very interesting, especially with Willie Abreu hitting 8th. That was a little bit mind-boggling of a lineup. And then you have like Garrett Cooper and Romy Gonzalez hitting ahead of Willie Abreu too. Like, I don't know. I felt the lineup for that game was not that, and Vaughn Grissom was hitting 50. He hasn't gone up to the greatest start of life. But, it's still early for him. He's still only played in a few games. Not really a concern right now with him. And, I mean, he still had actually, no, he didn't have a hit in the second game. He had a hit in the first game. I didn't have a hit in the second game. But overall, like, it's they also struck out too much. I'll say this: they struck out too much. They had what? Duran struck out 3 times. Abreu struck out 3 times. Grissom struck out twice, and then everyone, with the exception of Wong, struck out once. You're not going to win games like that.
And in the second game, the Braves only struck out 3 times.
That too. Like, you strike out a lot. You don't strike the other team out. And then also too, they only drew 1 walk in. Now they only allowed 2 walks in the second game, game 2. But like, you could also argue that they didn't draw walks because the Braves were hitting Pivetta at the same time. So like, you can also make that argument that they only drew 1 walk the entire game. The Red Sox did, and that was one of my pet peeves with the Red Sox of the last couple of years, especially in 22. I really remember looking. And you go back and look at the box score, and it's like they'd only walk 2 times in the entire game, or 1 time, and it's like, and they go a whole series, and they'd walk 5 times in a 3-game series, and it's like, what are we doing here? Take the free base, man.
The Sox also walked 6 times in the first game and only managed to put up 2 runs.
Yeah, but they had the opportunity to score a lot more than 2. They didn't have any base runners in the first. They had base runners in the first game through those free passes, and the free passes were a big part of it. In game 2, they didn't even have a chance because they couldn't get anyone on base, and they couldn't even walk. So,
But hey, there's still 1 game above 500.
They
Just
still
saying.
are, and it's not. This isn't like a doomsday. Like, oh no, the Red Sox stink now. It's like they just played one of the best teams in baseball. Like, yes, obviously they're starting to lose ground to the Orioles and the Yankees. Um, at the same time, though, and also the Rays are now right behind them. The Blue Jays are kind of catching up to them. But I think this Red Sox team. I don't necessarily look at this team in terms of record right now. It's still too early. Like we're in May. Start looking at record in like June. It's early still. I mean, look at the 2019 Nationals. Right now, this is a very obviously a kind of an outlier, but like they started the year off. They were not good the first couple months, and they end up winning a World Series. Right, so take everything with a
Right.
grain of salt, a singular grain of salt. I'm not saying the Red Sox are winning the World Series this year or anything, but let's not go all crazy because they were swept in a 2-game series against
Right.
the Atlanta Braves, who are one of the best teams in baseball. Like,
Right.
you know,
There's still, I get your point. There's still time. I also say standings don't matter until after Memorial Day, and it's May 9th. So we're approaching Memorial Day, but they still, in my opinion, don't matter, and they barely matter on Memorial Day. So don't worry about standings. I think the first game was very winnable, but the Braves are just their lineup is so good. There are literally no holes in their lineup. Like Marcell Ozuna, probably their best hitter, is consistently batting fifth. Come on. You have Travis d'Arnaud batting eighth and Michael Harris batting seventh. Come on. That's insane. But hey, it's the Braves, and we knew
exactly.
everyone. What?
I said exactly. It's the
Yeah.
Braves.
Everyone knew they were going to be really good, and they're the second best team in the American League East, statistically, actually.
American League East.
Or National League East. Damn it.
I was like, wait, what?
Damn it. You know what I meant.
I know what you meant, but it confused me for a second. I was like, wait, what? No, I got it though. Um, yeah, I mean it's the Braves. I mean,
The
it's
Braves are going
only
to be a playoff team.
yes, and should they have won Game 1? Like I said, they absolutely should have won Game 1 of the series. But at the same time, they definitely did not deserve to win Game 2. They should have split. They didn't.
Yeah.
Though it's a missed opportunity in terms of like, at the end, yes, it's only one game, but at the same time, they can add up. It's one game here, one game there. They can add up. So, but I think to the Red Sox, you take that game and go, all right, like the process worked. Like got guys on base, took the free pass when they could, when they were able to, and they had the chances, right? I think that's the big thing. They had the chances. You just got to execute, basically. If they could execute, then probably a win for them, right? And I love Slayton, but they probably don't go Slayton in the ninth. That to get if they're up, they probably go to Kenley, and Kenley has not been bad as of late. So,
Hmm.
and last time they played Atlanta, Kenley was pumping 98. I mean, it's a, uh, I so I mean it's a thing of like obviously that's a what if what if they were up and Kenley's in the game or and they shut it. It's a what if, but it was a winnable game and they had the chances. I think you look at that game and I think the Red Sox going to like the process that they had in that game. They're going to like the fact that they got guys on base, they drew 6 walks, but I don't think they're going to like the execution that they had.
Yeah. I also want to talk about Chris Sale. People look at the trade and they're like, "Oh, he owns the Red Sox. He's been healthy. He's been doing so many good things for this Braves pitching staff." And I know Sox fans were like, "Oh, they shouldn't have traded Sale." That's all. I think, in my opinion, that's hindsight, right? I think it was time for the Red Sox to move Sale, and I know the Sox are paying him still, but he said it great. He said it perfectly. He's had the best moments of his career with Boston. And he's had some of the worst. I think it was time for the Red Sox and him to move on, get him a change of scenery for the final years, maybe of his career. He signed a hefty deal with the Atlanta Braves. I think he something like $35 million on top of the money he was getting. Um, I don't know. I think, in my opinion, they still should have made that trade. Vaughn Grissom is a guy with a lot of upside. I think you still make that trade, even if I knew this was going to happen. I still think we should. I think the Sox shouldn't have made that trade. I don't know. Where are you at with this, Derek? What do you think?
I I put my thoughts on the trade of this. Do you think the Red Sox had any intention of Chris Sale returning after 2024?
No,
So why not trade him?
exactly.
Even if Chris Sale was doing that, okay, you could even if you made the argument, well, even if we look in the future and somehow knew Chris Sale was going to pitch good, what are the chances Chris Sale might get hurt by the trade deadline if you're out of it?
Nothing.
What are the chances he gets hurt? And then you can't trade him, right? Better to get something than nothing. It, so in terms of that, like you look back at it, the Red Sox, you get a guy in Von Grissom. He's probably the idea is they'd like for him to be their everyday second baseman long term. Red Sox haven't had a long term second baseman since Manny Machado decided to slide into Dustin Pedroia's knee. It's been a long time.
Yeah.
And with Chris Sale, as much as I think he could be good with the Red Sox, it was clearly time to move on. And at the same time, I I truly believe that even if he was pitching like this now, they'd have no intention of bringing him back next year. The Red Sox would, if he was with the Red Sox pitching like this. I I don't see it, right? So I think you look at it, they would end up trading him anyways. Trade him at the deadline, you probably get less because then you only get 2 months of him, and then you also have the chance that Chris Sale could get hurt before then, and then you can't trade him because he's injured, right? There's always that with him. So I think I'm not really reacting to the trade through the lens of Chris Sale pitching one good game against the Red Sox. It's one game. Chris Sale's next start could go and give out 10 runs in 2 innings. It's baseball. Stuff happens. It's not like it's not like the Red Sox didn't get anything for Chris Sale. They still got something. I know Von Grissom got injured. Might just be the curse of Chris Sale at this point, but uh, like I said, if they they haven't no, I believe they had no intention of keeping him past the 2024 season. So, and if that was the case, it was 100% the right decision to trade him. Even if Chris Sale goes and wins a Cy Young this year, it's the right decision to trade him.
Yeah. I second everything you say. You still make that trade. And, it freed some money for the Sox this year. But I mean, look how that turned out.
You can't play what ifs. What if the Red Sox don't trade Chris Sale? Maybe he gets hurt in spring training instead of Giolito. Who knows, right? You can't play
That'd be a worse look. That'd be a worse look.
Exactly. You cannot play what ifs because what if the Red Sox didn't trade Chris Sale? Well, maybe he wasn't going to pitch good with the Red Sox. Even if he pitched good with the Red Sox, like, okay, that's a what if. That's one of how many scenarios that could potentially happen, right?
Yep.
Can't really play what ifs. It's at the time of the trade, the Red Sox. I think that trade shows that they had no intention of keeping him past 2024, so they might as well trade him and get a piece back of Von Grissom that they think is going to bring value for them, not just now, but in the future as well.
Yeah, they would not, because here's the other thing: you trade him at the deadline. I know teams are going to be more
aggressive, but it's going to be a lesser package because you're not getting him for a full season. You're only getting him for 2, maybe 3 months, depending on how far you go in the postseason.
And what if the Red Sox are competitive too?
There's that as well.
What if they're in the same spot as last year, where they go half in and half out?
Well, I don't know if they would go half in, half out. We don't know how Breslo's going to operate at the deadline, but
right, it's more what ifs.
Yeah, exactly. It's more what ifs, right? So I think you have to look at it through the lens of what the Red Sox team was expected to do for 2024 and how they felt about the Red Sox team. And I think they felt that 2024 is not the year to try and hold on to guys in hopes that you maybe can make a run. You do that if you have an aging core, not when you have a young and exciting core for the future. You don't hold on to guys for that. You hold on to guys like Chris Sale if you have an old and aging core and you're trying to make one last run. The Red Sox are past that. That year was 22.
I agree. No. So I think it's a good time to segue to previewing the next series, of the weekend series against the Washington Nationals. The Sox they take on the Nationals for a 3-game weekend set Friday, it's going to be Tanner Houck versus Patrick Corbin. Corbin is terrible as always. No offense to him. Saturday, it's Cooper Criswell versus Jake Irvin. Then Sunday, it's TBD or probably Brian Bayo versus Mackenzie Gore. So I'll start off with you, Derek. What is your official series prediction?
Well, they're playing Washington, which gives me some hope. Especially because Patrick Corbin is pitching the first game. And Patrick Corbin stinks.
Yep. Final year of his contract, by the way.
He stinks. So I think they're definitely winning one game. My question for this series is, what Brian Bayo are we going to see?
Mm-hmm.
Are we going to see, because Bayo in his rehab start, velo looked good and whatnot, but command was a little off, right? Which isn't something surprising necessarily. But the command definitely wasn't there fully. So that's a question. How well can Cooper Criswell continue? How long can Cooper Criswell continue to pitch this well, right? That's another big question mark. As much as we love Cooper Criswell here, he's not gonna have a 174 ERA the whole season.
Nope.
He's bound to
He's going to have a 150 ERA. Yeah.
He's bound to have at least a rough start. I don't mean like he's gonna get blown up or anything, but he's bound to give up 3 or 4 runs, right? Houck was bound at some point, and he just did, right? So I'm gonna go 2 out of 3, but it's like a very like shaky because I could see them sweeping, but I also could see them losing 2 out of 3 as well. So I'm just kind of I'll put it like this: I think a sweep or them losing 1 out of 3 is more likely than them winning 2 out of 3. But I can't decide between the two, so I'm just gonna go in the middle and kind of hedge my bets and say 2 out of 3.
I'm gonna go to. I want to say sweep, but I just can't. I don't see them sweeping. The thing with the Red Sox this season has been you lose to teams that are good, but then you beat up on the teams who are mediocre or I don't want to say trash, but mid. So if we're gonna get mid, I think the Sox are just overall the better team. So I say 2 out of 3, but anything's possible. It's cliche as it shit sounds. It's very cliche. So I'm gonna ride the 2 out of 3 train. If it doesn't work, I promise I won't use it again for the next series because I'm just dumb. But yeah, I have them
Dumb.
2 out of 3. Cooper Criswell, if assuming he makes the start, will be his 4th start. So Cooper Criswell start. If someone's keeping track at home of my take, Cooper Criswell start counter is at 4.
Great.
Awesome. Okay.
Freaking Kaye.
Yay. Any other thoughts before we move on?
No. I think. Well, actually, I'll say this thought because the Red Sox they did bring back Romy Gonzalez, so I thought that was very interesting. Because there was a chance maybe they'd send him down because he does have options, but they decided to DFA Zach Short, which I mean, I think Pablo Reyes staying in the system kind of helped with that decision. Because we have Pablo in AAA. If anything happens, we can just add him back to the 40-man. With Zach Short, they're like, he's not that good. We'd rather have Pablo. So there you go. Although they did just DFA Pablo, so I don't know. It's weird, but I guess whatever floats their boat. I guess I don't know. Pablo doesn't inspire me that much either, so I don't know.
But they have him.
Yeah, they have him. But I thought it was interesting. But Pablo, Reyes, Joely Rodriguez, and Vladimir Gutierrez all accepted their assignments to AAA. Uwasawa's back in AAA, and Vladimir Gutierrez just got put on the development list for AAA, which means he cannot play in games. He's allowed to work out with the team, do bullpens, etc., but he cannot play.
Yeah. Alrighty, should we move on
Yeah.
to player of the week? We have a sponsor.
No, it's not player of the week. What are you talking about?
Just
Midweek
kidding.
show.
Oh, it's a midweek show. I meant stat of the week. But we have a sponsor. Crunchy Clouds Cookies. Are you ready to elevate your snacking game to new heights? Say hello to Crunchy Clouds, the cookie that defies gravity and satisfies every craving. Imagine biting into a cookie so light and airy, it's like nibbling of a fluffy cumulus cloud. These cookies pack a punch of flavor that send your taste buds soaring. From the classic chocolate chip to the daring double chocolate espresso, Crunchy Clouds offers a flavor for every palate. Plus, their cookies are baked with love and a sprinkle of magic, making each bite an enchanting experience. So why settle for ordinary when you can reach the sky with Crunchy Clouds? Grab a bag today and let your taste buds take flight. Go to www.crunchyclouds.com to secure your bag today. So
Sounds like they
Derek,
make your taste buds tingle.
yeah,
Maybe your
that
loins
that'd
too.
be a good way to put it too. Derek, I'll start off with you. What's your stat of the week?
All right. Well, does anyone want to talk about how bad Bobby Dahlbeck is?
Not the Section 10 guys.
Well, okay. I don't mean how bad he is. What I mean more so is how much hitters. I mean, how much MLB pitchers are attacking his weak spots. Maybe is the better way to put it. So Bobby Dahlbeck, if you look through the past years of his career, he's always swung and missed a lot, like a lot, but he's been able to make contact a decent amount. Enough, at least when he's hot enough, right? However, he's also in the past, at times, especially last season, struggled with chasing outside pitches outside of the zone. This year, Bobby Dahlbeck's chase rate is at 24.6%, which is actually not that bad. It's around 65th to 70th percentile. Not bad. Here's the problem. He can't touch anything inside the zone. And I mean this in the nicest way possible. But if you can't hit what's in the zone, you're done for. You have no chance. Bobby Dahlbeck this season. This year, Bobby Dahlbeck has, are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
Has seen 45% of the pitches against him thrown in the strike zone. That is up from 39% last year. He has also seen a first pitch strike 68% of the time, up from 60% last year. Oh, and you want to add something else to it? Actually, sorry, no. The strike zone was actually off. I read the wrong statistic. Actually, he has actually seen in the strike zone. Hold on. How do they have two different stats for pitches seen inside the strike zone? I don't know. But I'm going with the other one. That makes actually a lot more sense. Pitchers are throwing 56% of their pitches in the strike zone against Dahlbeck. That stat makes a lot more sense, actually. 56% of the pitches Dahlbeck has seen have been in the strike zone. That's up from 49% last year. That makes a lot more sense. And then if you compare that to his rookie year, it was at 45% in 2020 in this small sample size. Dahlbeck basically cannot touch anything in the strike zone because he has a whiff rate of 43% in the big leagues.
That's just terrible. But in
40.
AAA, he's raking. So
Well, because pitchers aren't attacking him the same because pitchers in AAA don't have the elite stuff and they're not attacking the strike zone like they are in the big leagues against him because the pitchers in the big leagues know he's going to swing and miss because they have better stuff. And I bring that up because his zone contact rate this year. Are you ready?
I am ready.
65%, which is actually better than last year but is down from the 72% of 2021. And his out of zone contact rate, oh yeah, that's down at 30%. So when he does swing out of the strike zone, he ain't hitting it either. I feel terrible for him. I really want Bobby to do well. But pitchers now in the big leagues can basically just pound the strike zone on him and just say, good luck, you're not hitting this. Especially the elite pitchers. They can just go up on the mound. All right, first pitch strike, boom, 0-1. Next pitch in the strike zone, 0-2. Good luck, you're done. Let's go back to the dugout. And I hate to say it, but it's true, right? And it sucks. I like Dahlbeck. I don't dislike Dahlbeck. I want Dahlbeck to be good. He's been great defensively. He can run, which at his size, is surprising to some, but he can run very well. He's actually 87th percentile in sprint speed this year.
Huh.
But, he got to hit at the big leagues. That's supposed to be, his power is supposed to be his big thing. But he can't showcase the power if you can't put the bat on the ball. So that's the thing that with Dahlbeck is he's got a 111 expected batting average and a 151 expected slugging.
That's awful.
Yeah, and that's based on quality of contact as well. So basically, the quality of contact when he hits the ball is terrible, and then the chances that he hits the ball are not that high. So that's good luck basically. Like I said, MLB pitchers are basically can just attack him, throws the first two pitches in the strike zone, get up 0-2, and then he's pretty much done for. It sucks,
Yeah.
but it's true because he hasn't been chasing much this year. He really hasn't. But
Mm-hmm.
what can you do about it? I mean, that's why with Dahlbeck, he's really needs a change of scenery. Go somewhere else, right? Somewhere not as big of a market, especially hitter friendly ballpark like Fenway, but maybe still don't send him somewhere like Seattle. Send him somewhere where he can actually hit. Also, or here's the other thing I thought about Dahlbeck. Dahlbeck turns 29 next month. Do they consider asking him, would you want to pitch? Because, who did the Red Sox do it with? The Red Sox did it with Michael Geddes. Or Michael Geddes decided he wanted to pitch because he wasn't going to get to the big leagues as a position player.
Charlie
And he tried
Culberson
pitching
is
for a
the
little
most
bit.
recent example.
Yeah. Which it didn't really work out for Geddes, but with Dahlbeck, I mean, give him a fresh start somewhere else, or maybe ask him, hey, and maybe wait till this offseason, but maybe ask him, would you want to pitch? I know it's tougher because he's on the 40-man roster and whatnot, but if they were serious about making him a pitcher and Dahlbeck wanted to do it, I mean, you could very well DFA him and say, oh, he's a pitcher now, and who's going to take him as a pitcher?
Nobody.
Not for a 40-man spot, so it's an option. I mean, he just needs a fresh start somehow. I'm not saying he'd be great as a pitcher, but give him a fresh start of some sort if you're not going to trade him. Because I do want him to do well, but he's stuck in this thing where it's and it's the same thing consistently now, where he goes down to Worcester and hits, and then comes back up and struggles. Right? Clearly, it's not a problem Worcester's solving. So, either let someone else try and figure it out, or do something else with them. It's when the Red Sox traded Jeffrey Springs to the Rays, and everyone's with hindsight, it's oh, why'd they trade him? It's Jeffrey Springs was not that good for the Red Sox.
He needed a change of scenery. It was very apparent. So did Chris Mason.
Zach Littell, right?
Well,
Sometimes
that's a little different.
I know that's different. But what I mean in terms of people are oh, why the Red Sox DFA him? It's because he wasn't good with the Red Sox.
He wasn't working. Ryan Brazier. Ryan Brazier's a perfect example. He wasn't working with the Red Sox. Gets DFA'd. No one picks him up. The Dodgers pick him up on a minor league deal. Then they put him on the MLB roster. Boom. He has one of the best second halves of in the major leagues.
Exactly. Right.
Because there are little things for example, they taught him a cutter. Little things like that help a team. That's what scouting's for. That's what like the Tampa Bay Rays are known for when scouting pitching. They see something in someone, they're like, okay, I can teach this person this pitch, or I can teach this person how to be more, how to a better approach that suits his arsenal.
Yeah.
Here's a better approach for him. That's what scouting is for. And the Red Sox didn't have the same scouting. Does that make them a bad scouting team? No.
No, they've had their hits.
They've had their hits. Exactly. But like Bernardino, Schreiber, Slayton, they're just it works in different ways.
Yeah.
One man's trash is another man's treasure. Right? Yeah. What's one way to play.
And at some point, when do you say we can't figure it out? If someone else can, good for them, but like we can't keep doing this.
Ryan Brazier is a perfect example of that.
Exactly.
Bobby Dahlbeck will become that, except we don't know if he's going to be good. It's going to be a what if.
Yes. But like I said, at some point for Dahlbeck's sake, like, change something, right? I'm not saying he should become a pitcher, but I'm saying, like, at least it's a change, right?
Yeah.
Just something. Trade him somewhere. Like, hell, release him if you have to. At some point, like, I don't want to say give up on him. You're not necessarily giving up on him, but, like, you've tried it how many times now?
No, you are giving up on him.
No, you're not giving up on his talent. Because I still believe the Red Sox still think there's a reason why he's still there. They believe there's a player there. So you're not necessarily giving up on him, but you're saying we can't figure out how to put the pieces in the right spot of the puzzle. We can't solve the puzzle. We think someone else might be, and if they can, good, but we can't do it. It's not them necessarily giving up on Dahlbeck. It's them kind of saying, we can't figure it out. And maybe no one can, right? But at some point, you got to move on.
You got to wave the white flag.
Yes, exactly. So with that, Jason, what is your stat of the week?
So my stat of the week. So Mason Miller of the Oakland Athletics has probably been one of the best, if not the best, relief pitchers in all of baseball. In 13 games this season, has an ERA of 1.10, in 16 and a third innings pitched, 8 saves, which is top, 33 strikeouts. That's good for 18.2 strikeouts per 9. He's striking out over 50% of the hitters he's facing. That's so good. ERA plus of 3.58. His whip is 0.67. That's insane too. But a stat that I want to look into is his FIP. Now, FIP is fielding independent pitching. It's defined by MLB as FIP is similar to ERA, but it focuses solely on the events a pitcher has the most control over: strikeouts, walks, hit by pitches, and home runs, not hits. It entirely removes results on balls hit into play. For example, if a pitcher has surrendered a high average on balls in play, his FIP will likely be lower than his ERA. Balls in play are not part of the FIP equation because a pitcher is believed to have limited control over their outcome, which is true to a certain extent. That's why you have this term.
You can't FIP, control if your shortstop can or can't make the play in the hole, basically.
For example, exactly.
Or if you can't control if your left fielder has range or no range.
Right. I think if you're an advanced ball knower, then you know what FIP is. Going to Mason Miller. His FIP is negative. Negative FIP. Negative 0.15. That's insane. Mm-hmm. That's not going to be sustainable over a full season. I'd be shocked if it was. But the FIP constant, the way it's what it is, because the FIP, the formula is home runs times 13, plus 3 times walks plus hit by pitches, minus 2 times strikeouts, divided by innings pitched, plus the FIP constant. So what's making it negative is his high amount of strikeouts and low amount of walks.
And he hasn't given up a homer or hit.
And he hasn't given up the long ball this year. So that's automatically a 0.
And he hasn't hit anyone with a pitch.
And he hasn't hit anyone with a pitch. And he's only walked, what, four?
He has only walked
Four, yes.
4 hitters. Yep. With 33 strikeouts.
Yes, and he's constantly pumping out 102, 103 miles an hour. Really good. If he can stay healthy for a full season, he's going to get Cy Young votes. That's how good he is. Can he sustain that? Hopefully he stays on the A's, by the way, too. I just don't want him to trade him for any more high A prospects. That's just a bad look for baseball. As much as I hate the A's, they shouldn't get rid of this player. He is so good. But I look at him, he already has a WAR of 1.1. He has already one win above replacement. And by the way, it's May 9th, which is insane. I just can't believe he's this good. He pitched well against the Red Sox. Couldn't hit on him with him at all. But yeah, anything else to add? That's
So
my.
I'll add this. Mason Miller has. So he has a 1.10 ERA. His expected ERA is 0.76. He has a SIERA of 0.62. His expected FIP is 0.71. His ERA minus is 30. So as opposed to ERA plus, where the higher the number is better, ERA minus, the lower the number is better. His ERA minus, which is adjusted for park and league, with 100 being average. So similar to ERA plus, but it's not just the ERA stat; it's also park adjusted into what league you're playing in. His is 30, so that's basically 70% better than average. And then his FIP minus, this is the crazy one. His FIP minus, which is FIP adjusted for park and league, where 100 is average and lower is better. His FIP minus is -6.
Come on, that's insane.
Yeah. Try wrapping your head around that one. -6 FIP minus. It's insane. Is he gonna keep this up? Probably not. But it's kind of crazy. I'm not gonna lie. The other thing, he has also not allowed a barrel this year against him. There's that.
Yeah.
And the hard hit rate against him is only 26%. But no barrels.
Should be a rookie.
So if guys are hitting the ball hard, it's either on the ground or straight up in the air.
Yeah, what I was saying before, I think he should be a rookie. I don't think he is, but he would. I think he's technically.
No, he's a rookie. He's a rookie. He just doesn't. He didn't have prospect eligibility. He had exceeded prospect status, but he's still a rookie.
Okay, so yeah, I was gonna say he could be rookie of the year.
Yeah,
we'll see. With that said, I think let's move on to news and notes of the week. Derek, you want to start or should I start?
It's up to you.
I think I'll start. So Paul Skeens is set to make his major league debut this weekend. Paul Skeens is the number 3 overall ranked prospect according to MLB Pipeline. He, in the minor leagues this year, in AAA, he has an ERA below 1 in 7 starts and 21 and a third innings pitched. Only 17 hits, only has given up 1 home run, walked 8, struck out 45, which is about maybe a little bit less than 7 strikeouts a game, which is really good, and a whip below 1. And most importantly, he's Livy Dunn's boyfriend. Just say.
Yeah, the MLB wants everyone to know that too.
Yep, but his stuff is so good. Like when he was drafted, like his fastball is electric, good slider, good changeup, control's good. It's just a matter of can he pitch at a major league level? We knew he has the stuff. They shut him down. The Pirates shut him down last season. They started him in AAA. There were a few theories that they would have, if he wasn't a prospect, they would have started him, knowing just how good he was. But yeah, he's set to make his MLB debut, and yeah, I don't have anything else. He's 21 years old, too.
Yeah, there's that too.
So that's why he has good stuff.
Yeah, definitely. With that, I'll kind of go on my note, more of a note of a week. Uh, so the Toronto Maple Leafs fired their head coach. So see ya. Already Sheldon Keefe. See ya. But this was interesting because now with that, Martin St. Louis, who is the Montreal Canadiens head coach, is the fifth longest tenured head coach in the National Hockey League, and he was hired February of 2022. So the fifth longest tenured head coach in the National Hockey League has only been a head coach for just over 2 calendar years. I found this interesting because I decided to go look in the big league managers and see who has been a manager longer than Martin St. Louis, who's the fifth longest tenured MLB manager. I mean NHL head coach. For MLB managers, there are 16 MLB managers who have been a manager for their current franchise longer than Martin St. Louis has been the head coach of the Montreal Canadiens. That includes Kevin Cash, who is the longest tenured manager, and he was hired December 5th, 2014. Scott Service is second longest tenured. He was hired October 23rd, 2015. And then Dave Roberts is the third longest tenured, being hired by the Dodgers November 23rd, 2015. The other managers that were hired before, who have a longer tenure, are Torey Lovello, Bud Black, Dave Martinez, Aaron Boone, Rocco Baldelli, Brandon Hyde, David Bell. I said Dave Martinez. Yeah, I did.
Yep.
Derek Shelton, AJ Hinch, Alex Cora, Mark Kotze, Ollie Marmol. Yeah, and Ollie Marmol. Those are the 16. And
That's
then
wild.
if you were to go, and missing out by a couple months was Rob Thompson.
Really?
Missed out by a couple months.
What
And
about
so did John
Schneider?
Schneider missed out by a couple months as well. They're both hired in the middle of 2022.
Yeah,
So
crazy.
Basically, the NHL's had a lot of head coach turnover, whereas the MLB kind of not that much, even though it feels like there's been a lot, especially recently. But at the same time, you look at the managers who have been fired recently. Dusty Baker managed.
He wasn't fired; he retired.
Well, you know what I mean, though.
He was brought back. Yes,
but he only managed the Astros for 3 years. Phil Nevin managed 2 years.
He managed the Astros for
4 years.
4 yeah, since 2020.
Yeah. Francona, obviously, long-term retirement. I don't know if I was talking. Tony La Russa only managed the White Sox for a couple years. Mike Matheny wasn't with the Royals for a long time. Tony Beasley was the Rangers manager. I don't even know who Tony Beasley is. It says he was the previous manager before Bruce Bochy. I would assume that might be interim because he's currently the third base coach, so I would assume that's interim. Blue Jay Charlie Montoya was there for a little bit, but not, Ron Renicky was there for a year, subbing in for Alex Cora. In the National League, Bob Melvin was with the Padres for a couple of years. Craig Counsell was with the Brewers for a while. But Buck Showalter was with the Mets for a couple of years. David Ross was only with the Cubs for a couple of years. Gabe Kapler was only with the Giants for a couple of years. Mattingly was only with the Marlins for a couple of years. Girardi was only with the Phillies for a couple of years. So a lot of the managers that have been hired recently, most of them aren't taking over for a long tenured manager. So it's like the same few teams are like shuffling managers in and out, whereas teams like the Rays, the Dodgers, the Braves, the Diamondbacks, the Rockies, the Mariners, the Yankees, Twins, etc., like the Red Sox, even if you don't count 2020 with Ron Renicky. They've all had the same manager for so long, whilst all these other teams are having manager change after manager change. So I thought that was very interesting as well, because there are a lot of long tenured managers in the big leagues right now, which is interesting because you feel like there wouldn't be, but considering there's always like 7 or 8 managerial hires every year, but there is.
I don't know. I
Some
mean,
of these guys might need
hockey.
job protection.
God, I saw that coming. I really
Yeah,
did.
you should have.
Well,
All right, bring us
I
home,
think.
Jason.
Well, okay, we're gonna end the episode. I'd say any final thoughts, but I think you already gave yours. So for Derek, who, I don't know, I'm speechless. So for Derek, I'm Jason. Thanks for tuning in to the Fenway Focus, and we'll see you next time.